over here you have this fuse panel, and you basically just pull right here, and then it comes out. These little guys might actually pop out. They've popped out on me like 10 times as I've been working on this. But what you have back here is a whole bunch of connections. And it's called the body control module. So he gave me different colors that you need to worry about, and that's those different colors there. So I think he said green, black, and maybe white or blue. I can't remember. It was on the labels. But you can get in there pretty easy if you see up here on this fuse panel. Sorry, it's nice and dark in here as usual. There's a little guy right here that you push in, and then you push one in on the other side inwards, and then you can basically tip this fuse block forward and lift it up, and it'll give you a bunch of room to work on those particular guys back there, those wires. And the best thing you can do is you push the little piece so that that's the release, that little tiny thing there, that little tiny thing there, that little tiny thing there. You push that in with your finger, and you get kind of a flathead screwdriver on the other side, and you come up and you kind of twist it a little bit, and it'll pop that out. Now those are kind of hard to pop out because there's like 25 pins all connecting at the same time. So before you do any of this, you definitely want to unplug the negative off of your car, because this is basically the module that controls everything on your car. So that's where these 3 wires go, and essentially he's going to give you kind of this harness like this. Has a lot of stuff hanging off of it. Like I said, everything is labeled. So I'm going to do real quick the connections as if I had everything up inside there, because once it's inside there, there's 0 chance that you're going to be able to see what I'm doing. So I have the radio. The radio is going to be in actually kind of like that inside there, and the HMI box is going to be in like that. Now I won't be able to show you the connections if I do that, so just imagine them kind of in the upper panel up there like this. But let's look at them like this. So the connections that we need to make are all coming from up here. So let me get my light over here. I'm probably going into way too much depth on this. I mean, honestly, it's not hard. When he gives you this harness, you can plug, you can't plug anything in wrong. So this guy here only goes into one spot, and that one spot is this little gray guy hanging down. So you plug into that. Then this guy here, the other end of this little Y harness. Let me get this lighting a little better. I'm really sorry. Somebody was supposed to be helping me with this video. This little guy only goes into one spot, and that one spot is right here on the radio. There you go. We'll do it like this. Couple other things. Let's see. The rest of the radio connections. Like I said, he gives you this guy. It goes into the HMI, which is this little box over here. And it goes right there. Everything has a really nice click to it. This guy goes into the HMI, goes right here. I'm gonna actually run into a little bit of trouble.
because these USB cables are super short. But I'll tell you, this blue guy here goes into the blue here, which you might just have to trust me, because it's going to be kind of hard to get it to go in there. It's kind of short. This green guy that went behind the screen goes into here, like that.
Okay, I'm gonna show you how to put your new radio in. Remember, it goes like this with this bump out section aimed like that, and the HMI box. The fan on the HMI box goes towards the outside of the car, and it goes up like this. So we're going underneath the dash, and let me get a light up there. So we are going up. So yes, it's very hard to see. There's actually kind of two slots back here. The big one here. Hold on, let me get better light. There we go. Should be better. The big slot that's here, right here, is where the radio goes, and then behind that there's a smaller slot, and that's where the HMI goes. So the HMI has to go in first. It might not have to go in first, but it's easier since you're gonna get it up in there behind it, and then you're gonna put the radio in there. So I'm gonna put it in, and then I'm gonna turn it off, and then I'm gonna put it in, then I'm gonna come back and show you them once they're in there. You don't have to do anything other than kind of pull this carpet back that's right here. You kind of pull it out of the way so you have room while you're working. Okay, I'll be back. So something I wanted to try to show you is this. It's gonna look super obvious because it's gonna slide in so easily that you're gonna say, oh yeah, that makes sense, but it isn't. So you're gonna probably think that you want to put this thing up straight up in there. Like, you're gonna see the slot up there and you're gonna go, oh, I can just push it straight up in there. Well, you really can't. You end up hitting this here because it kind of curves. So you kind of want to put it in an angle. You always have to pull this carpet back. Don't worry about pushing it out of the way. It'll go back. So I'm going to try to put it underneath this mat, just to get it out of the way. I don't have enough hands for what I'm doing right now. Okay, and so you take this. Remember, the big nub is on this side, and you push it back this way, and then here's kind of the, I don't know what I'm gonna call a secret. It's not going straight up in there. It's at an angle, tipped closer to me, and you kind of push it up. Then you try to start to tip it as you're going up in there. And of course, there. Yep, there we go. So as you start to tip it, then you push it up, and it locks into place. So now we can put that piece of carpet back the way where it goes. Push this back down, get that all out of the way, and we can start to make some of these connections. Like I said, you can't make the wrong connection. They're all keyed, and Anthony will label them, but they're still keyed. So let's get the lighting fixed. All right. So there, he's going to send you a harness, T harness or Y harness, whatever you want to call it. This guy here. It's got a female port that goes to this gray male. I think it's 8-pin. So orient it properly, pushes in there. Then the other two sides of this down here connect to the boxes. So let's see if I can show you the connection.
Again, you gotta basically lay it underneath here on your back. It's really not ergonomic, but you are probably not gonna do it the 15 times that I've done it. You're gonna do it once and you're gonna be done. So, get this harness out of the way here. There we go. Okay. So, this is the radio right here, and this is the HMI back behind it. So let's see. This guy goes into the radio. Oop. This guy right here goes back into the HMI. There's only one spot it fits. Okay. This guy right here is gonna go into the radio. Let's see, right there. You saw the microphone connections, the antenna, but it's always this push side here is always needs to go next to that. So you can rotate it and then get it over the location eventually. Okay, let me push it on and kind of rotate it out of the way. The blue guy here goes to the blue back here on the HMI. Again, it's just like way harder to show this to you than it actually is to do it. It's pretty easy to do it, especially if you're not doing it one-handed. So let's push that. There we go. And everything clicks, so when it clicks, you know you're good. There's a brown guy here. This guy's the only one that kind of doesn't go into what you'd think. Does not go into the brown here. It goes into the black back here. Again, I know you can't see anything, and actually neither can I, but it's going up into this black port on the HMI eventually. There it goes. Okay. I did forget this in the other time I was showing you the video, but yeah, there's like a port back there, that black guy back there. I forgot to plug it in last time. I was wondering what was going on. Trying to find the plug. Oh, sorry. Here's this guy here goes on the black antenna plug. Eventually, I know you can't see anything. It's like a wire mess back here. So this is a harness Anthony's going to give you that's got brown. It's what goes back in that spot back there, back in that HMI. Let me get it back there real quick. Okay, almost there. Probably a good time to mention, if you're going from like a IO4 to 5 or 5 to 6, it's a lot easier than this because you're going to have all the wires. You just need the new modules. And I cannot do this with my left hand. There we go. Okay. There we go. Oh, You know what? I had the plug aiming the wrong way. That's why that was taking so long. Okay. And that's all the connections underneath there.
Okay, so I'm going to show you another location that you have to tie into when you have an I03 or the base model radio, and you're going to go to an I05 or I06 with navigation. You have to take this rear deck off the back of the Impala. Typically there'd be some speakers underneath that. In the I03 version with the base model radio, you don't have any speakers there, but you still have to pull it off to do the tie-in for the GPS, as well as a tie-in for the microphone. Let me get back in here. So I'm showing you kind of the back upper dash of the car. This is kind of a sound matting, which you can lift up and get out of the way, and you will need to do that. Let me lift it up out of the way for now. Show you the two connections you have to make back here. Let me sit you down for 1 second. Okay, so you just kind of wiggle this out of here. Try not to bend it too much so you don't break it. Probably wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'm trying to keep everything as nice as possible. So this is the OnStar box, and this OnStar box is where you need to connect your diplexer. So what this is something Anthony's going to give you. It's basically going to take the signal for your GPS. If you are going to an I06, you're going to need a GPS antenna. Well, you don't have that connection yet because your car didn't come with I06. So you need to take the OnStar antenna and you basically need to split it. So he's got color-coded connections here. Basically, let me see here. This guy right here used to go into the back of the radio. It's kind of hard to see right down here. Hopefully you can see that. You take that out and you put it into the color-coded section of this diplexer. Then you take this little jumper guy that's kind of red. It's also color-coded underneath there, and it plugs into the OnStar box. And then the blue, which again is color-coded underneath here. Pretty much everything he does is color-coded, or male and female only will connect. And you take that, and he's gonna give you a big long cable if you're going to an I06, and you have to run that all the way up to the front. So I kind of bounded around the existing cabling that was here, took it all the way over, let me get a little light, all the way over to the side, and then kind of down behind this bolster here, and then you run it all the way along underneath the side. So I can show a little bit more of that later. But the last connection that you need to make back here, especially if you're going from I03 to really anything else, to get your voice control, you need to have this connector right here with these two wires. And again, he's going to label them very well, tell you where you need to plug them in. They go into this connector, which will basically be empty on the back of your car if you have an I03. So I will take another video and show you what to have to disconnect to get that upper rear dash out, but you can see a little bit of what had to go on. I had to take this bolster off over here on the left and on the right, and you'll see a bunch of stuff in there. Really what these are is connections to your antenna, as well as connections to the airbag, so be careful with that, as well as on the other side. It's a little bit annoying to get them off, and you're always worried, hey, am I gonna break something? But I'll show you right here. This is where the clips go, here, and basically here. So they pull straight out. Even though you feel like you're gonna break it, they pull straight out and they actually pop off. No clips broke, nothing. So that's good to know. I'll show that a little later. But while I had everything apart, I wanted to show you that those do have to come off, or else you will not be able to get out that upper dash piece. So anyway, I'll be back with more. Hopefully you're getting everything I'm trying to teach you here, and it's gonna make it a little easier on this install. I am getting ready to put back this bolster cover over the airbag.
It's not too difficult to concept how it goes, except for the fact that you see this one clip right here. That makes sense. But then you see, hey, what's going on here? There's no clip. That is actually part of this piece. And what this piece is a, let me get another light here. There we go. That piece is what kind of attaches to that bolster. And the reason why it's also attached to the frame is because when that airbag pops out, you don't want that bolster flying around in here. So it's how it stays attached, is through this little clip right here. And when you actually pull that bolster off the first time, you're gonna see that this is attached, and you basically have to slide it out through this little groove right here, or else you won't be able to pull that off because it's bolted to the frame. So I'm gonna put that all back together and then show you a little bit of what it looks like after everything's together. Just make sure that you're paying attention to these channels that are along here. You have to get it kind of in between the outside of this channel and the inside of that channel, or otherwise it's gonna look like crap. So I'll put that together and then I'll let you see what it looks like. So I cut off a little bit, but when you do push these in, it'll make a nice solid seam here when you push them in, and they click as they go in. So then now you're kind of ready to put this little plastic piece here, just as kind of like a guide for the seat belt. There's like some little grooves here that go back into that bolster. Doesn't really make a clicking noise or anything, but it does kind of center it and you push it back, and I guess you can kind of feel it. Yeah, once it's in there, then it kind of is hard to pull out. So then there's two screws that are down here. Get the seatbelt out of the way. There's two screws. There's one there and then one right next to it that go down in there, and then you have this little plastic clip that just pushes in there. And you do the same thing on the other side, and you pretty much have the whole back end put back together. We'll quickly mention that I don't know if I'm going to pull these bolsters off again to show you kind of how they pull off, but they're not too difficult. You just have to kind of know that what you're doing is the right thing, so you're not worried about breaking it. I took a little pry tool, kind of got it underneath here to where I could get my fingers under it, and then you just pull kind of straight out. So you pull straight out here, and then there's another clip down here, then you kind of pull straight out and the whole thing tips outwards, and you can pull it out enough to get that black clip off that I showed you. You have to slide it out. It's a bugger to kind of get that out. I had to use a little screwdriver to lift up a little portion of it so it would slide out. I don't know. People who are probably less patient than me might just cut that and say, what's the big deal if that airbag goes off if a little piece of plastic flies around in the car? But if you do want to do it right, you get a little screwdriver, and there's like a little lip underneath that plastic thing, that plastic clip that'll let you free this bolster. You definitely have to get that out of there because it's pretty closely stuck to the wall, and you can't get any of this out unless you take that out. I did probably also want to mention there's not much that holds this cover down. It's really only 3 clips, and they're the kind where you pull the middle out and then you can pull the rest of it out. They're not the ones that are a pain in the ass to get out. They're just pretty easy. And once you do those 3 and you take this bolster off and the bolster on the other side, you just basically lift it up from here. You just lift up and then you pull it back. Because it's got some kind of teeth that groove in all the way at the back near the trunk area. So that, I wasn't really sure how that came out, but once you got it out, you get to look at kind of what's the attachment method. It's a little more obvious that it's not too difficult. You just got to take the bolsters out, bolster covers, and then these 3 screws here, and then you can lift it up and pull it towards you. If you're really trying to prepare yourself, you should like push your seats all the way back
definitely tip the seats down to give yourself some more room to work. Otherwise, the headrest will just be totally in your way. So hopefully that's some good info there. This should be most everything on the back. Not going to go into too much detail on routing the wires, but you know, you get the wires and you go down this kind of side here, and then you get them underneath here. This just pulls up like in every car that's ever made. You pull this I don't know, kick guard up, and it's actually kind of long kick guard. It goes from all the way from the back to this middle piece to right up there where you see that seam. And you'll probably also do the other one. Now, I'm showing you the left side, but the right side of the car, the passenger side of the car, is where you'd actually be doing that, because you're going to run that mic wire for an I03 to an I05 setup along the passenger side of the car over to the HMI box. So that, like I said, isn't too big of a deal. Just know that you kind of pull this thing straight up with your hands, and it tends to pop out. So there you go. Okay, showing how to pull this kick panel off, or whatever you want to call it. I know I said I wouldn't show it, but I do have to pull this one off. So you just basically get your fingers underneath here and you pull up. I think there's a little bit of pulling over here first to kind of get this off, and then you just pop it up straight up with your fingers. Just one more clip. You can pull the seat back, pull that out. I already did the one in the front seat. I also moved the seat all the way forward and tipped it forward, but then it comes out and you can see all the clips. Actually, this is the second one I've seen like this, where the clip itself from the factory was kind of punched in there. So I'll pull this out and then bend it back so it clips in a little better, because obviously that's bent in there and it's not right, but you can bend it back. So these wires, you want to put them down and run them alongside this here. You don't want them to get pinched, so don't put them over the holes that are down here. Just put them kind of like right next to this, and then use zip ties all the way up to the front. So that's that. When you go to put this back, you're basically just lining it all up and then pushing it down. Only area where you have to be careful is this area here. You have to kind of pull this up and pull the seat back a little bit so you can get this part tucked underneath that area whenever you're putting it in, so the holes line up. Otherwise, this one will actually get kind of bent up. Okay, final installment of 2014 Impala, going from the I03 small little 4-inch screen to a 2016. Actually, I went to I05 in 2016 because I wanted the Apple CarPlay, and I also actually added the AV module as well, which I can show you how it works. The install, if you're doing the I03 install to I05 or really anything in that area where you're going to be near the HMI, it's pretty easy. Everything Anthony does, he sets you up with a harness that we just plug and play. There might be like 2 other small connections to power and ground, but that's pretty much it. So anyway, it took me a while to kind of do this video because I had to put my whole dash back together, and I wasn't putting the dash back together because I was doing an upgrade here with the digital thermostat for the HVAC. But anyway, the very last thing I actually have to do is get this installed. And actually this came off the 4-inch screen, but you know, GM being the eternal geniuses they are, there's a different cap that goes on the screen that goes up and down than the cap that goes on the 4-inch screen that doesn't move. I have no idea. They're very, very close, but I ended up having to order this piece to pop on there. So if you are going from the 4-inch screen up to the big 8-inch MyLink, you're gonna have to buy this piece, and it's like 80 bucks, I think, $78. So anyway, just to run you quickly through, I can't show you the CarPlay because as soon as I plug it in, it's gonna stop my video, but it works great. So it's gonna pop up right here as soon as you plug CarPlay in, and you're gonna have Apple Maps, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, Spotify, a couple other things. But basically, that's going to be your map. And it is pretty nicely integrated in. You can pop in and out. You can pop back to this screen, or you can go back to the CarPlay pretty easily. It does pick up your text messages and such. It allows you to do Siri dictation of text messages. Really, it actually allows you to do Siri for anything that you would normally do on the car. So, what else? So radio, XM. 2016 does have XM, but it doesn't have the rewind anymore. But one other thing I would like to quickly mention is I also went with the 2016 because they upgraded the processor in the computer that's basically used to run all of the audio system, and it's pretty snappy. The one in the 2015 was okay, but you know, you'd press a button and it would take a second to get there. But this one, pretty much as soon as you press everything, it instantly goes. So that's pretty much that. You know, XM, AM, FM. Like I said, if I had to plug in my phone in, you'd see the Apple Play, it pops up right away. I did do the AV install, which the way I did it is I drilled a small hole in this piece down here, which Anthony will show you the video, but once you have this thing out, you'll see I drilled a hole here, and it gives you a separate cord that you can plug into the phone. Well, I mean, this is an extension lightning cable. If you're Android, you'd have a different one, but it also lets you kind of tuck it back down in there out of the way if you're not doing that. But that gave me mirroring to where I could put everything from my phone on the screen here. So YouTube, Google Maps, whatever, but does take two different connections. The connection that's down here that goes into the glove box is just your normal kind of CarPlay, hey, I'm connecting my phone to my car type of connection. This one over here is for if you're going to do the AV mirroring. So they are different. Another thing Anthony's going to have to set you up with is this receptacle down here for the USB is probably different than what you have in your car. The CarPlay does require a different USB receptacle. We don't really know why. It seems like it would use the old one, but it doesn't. So that's an extra expense that you might have there. But other than that, the install's great. I actually like driving the car now. It was so, you know, basic before with a tiny screen and very little integration over here. Now you have full integration between the two screens, and everything looks great. So talk to Anthony Brush at MVI Inc. or give him a call. He'll give you his text number. He'll walk you through it. It will be very easy. If you watched my videos, you'll think that, hey, wow, that took a lot, but it only took a lot because we were trying to figure it out. And once it was figured out, everything is just basically a harness that you're going to plug in. And if you are going from i04 or to i05, or you just want to like upgrade from 2014 i04 to 2016 i05 or something like that, it's a lot easier than the i03. The i03 has a couple connections that you would not need to make in those other ones. So hopefully it worked out for you if you end up doing this. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with Anthony. And if Anthony has any questions, I still got the car here where he can get in touch with me, and I can answer any types of questions that you might have. So anyway, great upgrade for the car, and you'll love it.